اهدنا الصراط المستقيم.
Guide us to the straight path.
And if you have everything else and you don't have guidance, then what really do you have? It is not an accident that the Qur'an opens with the servant expressing their most fundamental need. In Surat al-Fatiha, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the opening of the Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the merciful, the compassionate. Maliki Yawmiddin, the master of the day of reckoning. Then we make a statement of commitment and a seeking of assistance. Iyaka na'bud wa iyaka nasta'een. It is you alone that we worship. And it is you alone that we rely upon, that we seek assistance of. Then we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for one matter, right? And this is the most fundamental of matters. And this is how the Qur'an opens. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqeem. Guide us to the straight path. What is the divine response? The Qur'an is the divine response to this call. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the response comes right away. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Alif Lam Mim, that is the book in which there is no doubt. A guidance for the mindful, for those of taqwa, those who care about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who live that concern in their lives. It is the book of guidance. And every prayer we repeat this call, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqeem, guide us to the straight path. But it is good to remind ourselves that what is the straight path? What is guidance? Because if you think about it, it is not the most obvious of things to ask for. Because who's the one who is asking? The believer. Right? Because who's the one who is asking? The believer. Right? And by definition, the believer is the one who has been guided to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why would the believer ask for guidance? Why would they ask for guidance? And not just ask for it once, but to ask for it in every prayer, in every rak'ah of every prayer. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqeem. Guide us to the straight path. To understand this, we need to ask ourselves, what is the straight path? What is guidance itself? What is guidance itself? And one of the realities regarding the Qur'an that we very often don't appreciate is that the Qur'an has meanings beyond encompassing, meanings beyond measure. Imam Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that he could write camel loads of commentary just on Surat al-Fatiha. That he could write camel loads of pages in commenting just on Surat al-Fatiha. And many a scholar did just that. One of the greatest of the Imams of Islam, Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi, who was a brilliant, brilliant scholar. During his time, there were many people within Islam who were promoting deviant understandings of the deen, and he refuted them. There were people who were trying to attack Islam from outside, and he refuted them. And some people got so fed up because some of these groups, they weren't able to answer him back. So what they started doing, they started pinning insults to the minbar, so that when he stood at the minbar, people could see these insults, right? And they'd say bad things about his family members, his servants, his children. Sometimes some would even dare say things about his wife. And one day he took one of these notes and said, if my children do such things, then may Allah forgive them. And He is forgiving. But at least my children don't say falsehood about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Which is worse. Right? Which is worse. Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi wrote an entire volume, several hundred pages, just in explaining Surat al-Fatiha. And many other scholars have done. In Arabic, the word sirat, refers to a clear way that is trodden. Right? There's many words for a path. Right? You can say nahj, you can say tariq, right? But a sirat is a way that is clear, and that is pursued by people. Right? And it is a path in which there is no confusion, because it is well traveled. Right? It is well traveled. And that is the characteristic of the straight path. Right? The straight path is not a confusing path. It is not a path regarding which there is doubt. It is exceedingly clear. The Prophet ﷺ said, تَرَكْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْبَيْضَاءِ, I have left you on the clear, wide way. So clear that its night is like its day. تَرَكْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْمَحَجَّةِ الْبَيْضَاءِ لَيْلُهَا كَنَهَارِهَا, so clear that its night is like its day. Because even now, and think about how clear that is, because even with lighting, does the 401 look the same at night as it does during the day? Even with lighting, no, it doesn't. But imagine the straight path, the Prophet ﷺ tells us, is so clear. لَيْلُهَا كَنَهَارِهَا, it is as clear by night as it's by day. And he's talking to people for whom nighttime would bring complete darkness. So consider a side street where there's less lighting. Right? At nighttime, it's very different from the day. But this path, the straight path that the Prophet ﷺ has come with, is so clear that its night is like its day. لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. No one will veer away from it except someone who destroys themselves. So don't. Right? That is the straight path. Right? It's a way that has been made clear for us. However, the way is clear, but you need to know the way. Right? You need to know the way. So you need knowledge to get to the straight path, and to know how to pursue it so that you remain on the straight path. So that is the path. And it's called as-siratul Mustaqeem, the straight path, because that path is the path that gets you directly to your goal. Right? It is the path that directly gets you to your desired goal. That's one aspect of it being mustaqeem, being the straight path. That it is the direct